Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some big plot reveals for the upcoming episodes of The Mandalorian Season 2. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee. Greetings, Exalted Ones. Greetings to all you Jedi, Padawans, and younglings out there. This is Star Wars Coffee, covering everything you need to know about the latest developments, news, and leaks in Star Wars, and as always, giving you my analysis. Star Wars Coffee channel memberships are now live. I want to give a special shout out to Neon Victor, BSimms, Daniel, Richard, and Raina. And of course, this is the way to maximize your Star Wars Coffee experience.
We would be honored if you would join us.
I think it's safe to say that this latest episode of The Mandalorian was one of, if not the best episode of the series thus far, let alone this season. This is highly up there for me. Personally, it's currently a battle between Mando going to rescue Baby Yoda and this current latest episode. Before I get into it, I'm going to throw out a spoiler warning. I know this episode just came out yesterday, so if you haven't had a chance to watch that yet, go do that and come back and check out this video, and I will be explaining to you all of the latest breakdowns of what we can expect for the rest of this season. There are some big implications here and a big push to push the storyline further. So let's take a look at what we have thus far. So spoilers coming in 3, 2, 1. This episode was insane. We finally learned who Sasha Banks was, new character. We saw the return of Katie Sackhoff as bo-katan, this time in live action, and the transition from animation to live action kind of stunned me for a second at how accurate it was. Obviously the character was based on her to begin with, but seeing it in live action just brings a whole nother element to it. So what we learned in this episode is that bo-katan is after the Darksaber. We also learned that Mando is part of Death Watch, which is now being dubbed The Watch, who is trying to restore the ancient ways. And bo-katan is still a Mandalorian, and Din Djarin's still a Mandalorian, but he now is probably going to struggle as his personal arc develops with taking off the helmet and figuring out which way is the way. Because he still seemed to respond when bo-katan said this is the way to him, when he now found out that he had to help hijack the ship. And what we learned on that ship scene is potentially the biggest thing to happen to this series thus far in terms of what it means moving forward. So let's break it down pretty quickly. Let me try and give you the highlights and then we'll go into it a little deeper. We saw Moff Gideon. We saw bo-katan go after the Darksaber. We saw Din Djarin say he still needs to find Jedi. We saw bo-katan saying, yes, I will connect you to Ahsoka Tano. Bunch of stuff just happened right there, and that was in about a 5-minute sequence of the show of only a 35-minute episode. They packed so much into this episode. They finally wove together the first 3 episodes of the storyline. The first episode really didn't go with these next 2. However, we now have episode 2 and 3 setting up what appears to be the next major arc of the season. We know chapter 4 we're going to go back to Navarro and see Cara Dune and Greef Karga as Carl Weathers directed that episode, but you can now expect Ahsoka Tano to join the show. Rosario Dawson will be in it. We suspect that'll be episode 5 with Dave Filoni. So there's the Ahsoka arc. Bo-katan not done this season. I'm sure Katie Sackhoff will be back as she is after the Darksaber. So while Din Djarin is trying to get the child to the Jedi, which will be Ahsoka Tano, the next issue is going to be, since we know that is likely going to take place in episode 5, the remainder of this season, since we've only seen Giancarlo Esposito's character Moff Gideon once thus far, and that was when he was talking to the captain of the ship, and that is the Darksaber. We know Moff Gideon has it, we know bo-katan knows he has it, and now they're trying to find him. So this next arc of the season, we already know that Din Djarin has experience with Moff Gideon. He is unaware that Moff Gideon is still alive, assuming that he died in the TIE Fighter and his TIE Interceptor crash. Now, Mando is going to have, as obviously the main character of the show, is going to be pulled back into this fight later. We know that there's going to be a Darksaber fight confirmed by Moff Gideon, and we now know that bo-katan is likely going to be involved with this. So everything that we thought was going to lead to Sabine now leads to bo-katan. So we had the right lines drawn, we just had the wrong conclusion. So they threw a twist in there with us, setting up this Sabine tease and just let us all go with it without trying to correct us. Led us to this great plot twist, which we now have with bo-katan. So, bo-katan is going to be going after the Darksaber. Mando's probably going to have some personal wrestlings with himself in terms of what the true way of the Mandalorian is, and whether the watch is what he wants to be a part of, or whether he's going to be more like bo-katan, take off his helmet, all of that, and go back to the way of Mandalore. So we see that Mando is going to have to help bo-katan get the Darksaber. This is not the end. We know that Ahsoka likely only going to be in one episode, so we'll see what Rosario Dawson does in terms of her character, how much screen time she gets in a couple of weeks. Don't expect that next week. But what this does do is set up an entire arc for the rest of this season, outlining bo-katan quested for the Darksaber, Din Djarin questing the child to Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano. We also still have that low-hanging Boba Fett cameo that we still haven't seen the result of. We know that Cara Dune and Greef Karga are going to play a part in this. In next week's episode, we'll be able to add what their story is to the plot later. We now know that Moff Gideon is being targeted by bo-katan for having the Darksaber, so we know that he knows he has it. So this whole rest of the arc, after I assume they're obviously not going to get rid of the child, Ahsoka will not be keeping the child. So once he delivers it, I highly expect her to say, keep it with you. And then Mando will then go, and the rest of the show arc, I presume, will be leaded towards this Darksaber and his new quest to figure out where his Mandalorian ways truly lie. And that will result in him spending more time with bo-katan, more time with Sasha Banks, as suggested leaks have teased. And this will lead to all of them tracking down Moff Gideon and the Darksaber. And we know, again, Juan Carlos Esposito said that there has been Darksaber fights. He broke several props on set while filming. So we know that this is all what this is going to be culminating to. So this is, and it'll likely end up with a more Mandalore hinged arc next season. So this is just fantastic news, mind-blowing stuff here, that this one episode, this 35-minute episode, was able to weave not only the plot lines we've had thus far together, but also carry us and propel us towards the end of this season, and even set up things for next season as well as spin-off shows. So, big stuff this week in the Mandoverse. We're gonna have to take a seat and just see what they have in store for us next Friday. Let me know what you guys thought about this. Thank you guys for watching. May God bless you, and the Force be with you always. If you enjoyed this episode, and frankly, even if you didn't, don't forget to subscribe.
Do it!
And if you want to help spread the word, please give this video a thumbs up and tell your friends to subscribe. Please check out the official Star Wars Coffee merchandise, and don't forget to check out all of the content playlists on this channel, including The Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, and much more.